hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome again to Street Talk. My name is Ahmad Shakaraki, and on Street Talk we deal with political, social, and economics here in Michigan, the U.S., and abroad. We got a lot to cover today, but you were saying?
Well, first thing I want to talk about is the new rule for college football, name, image, likeness. They call it the NIL.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows college athletes to monetize their name and their image into cash, actual cash.
Okay.
So instead of the model that we've had since the early 20th century, where all an athlete can legally obtain is books,
Mm-hmm.
room, and tuition payments.
Yeah. Okay.
And everything else under the payment, and we know under the table rather, and we know those under the table payments were endemic. Everybody was doing it, but now you can see a guy go out and negotiate a contract or an agreement with a restaurant, a car dealership, a clothing line, whatever it is, and get paid.
Okay.
And it's not anything that really can be controlled anymore, because there's so much information out here about how much these athletes have been getting exploited over the years, and giving up their bodies, in some cases even their mind long term, if you're talking about brain injuries from football. So I think it's a good thing. It's just about time.
Yeah. Now, how about how it's going to work? Because you got on basketball team you got what, 13 or 14 players on football teams. So
imagine you have a business and you have access to a team, and you want to go out and get someone to agree to represent your product and give it a little bit more marketing power.
Okay.
Would you pick the 15th man, or would you pick the number one player on the team, the top scorer, the leading rebounder, the best defender?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to work. It works that way in life.
Yeah, it's a marketing thing.
Absolutely. It's just it's going to work the same way in NIL, name, image, likeness, that it would in the free market, that it would with any endeavor. If you want to be represented the best, you go out and get the best, and that means you're going to have to pay them the best. So your star All-American guard is going to get much more money than the guy who's a walk-on the bench. That's just how it should be. Now, if everybody's looking for equality in terms of reimbursement, then we just go back to the old model where they got nothing. We just got room, board, and tuition, which is grossly underpaid. An example I'll give the audience is in the early 90s, always stuck with me. Early 90s, we're talking over 20 years ago, the NCAA paid CBS back then in the cable model instead of the streaming model that we have now,
Okay.
is their sole televiser of the NCAA tournament. So just for the tournament, not the regular season,
Okay.
not the preseason, not the award shows, the tournament, CBS paid NCAA something like $6 billion for the
Okay.
rights. Okay? And then they go out and they seek advertising revenue.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you can pay $6 billion and still find that it's highly profitable and the work product gets squadouche, they get nothing,
Yeah.
you have to say there's something wrong with this model. And right then, back in the early 90s, I started saying these guys need to be paid. They're coming out of here with torn ACLs. They're coming out of here with shredded meniscus. They're coming out of here with broken collarbones, head injuries.
Yeah.
And that was before we found out about CTE.
Yeah.
You know, it just wasn't right. You see guys and they're getting put on NCAA probation because they took some numbers, some money under the table, so they could go home to the homeboy's funeral.
Yeah.
Why the hell should he have to scrap and beg to get a flight home to his best friend's funeral, or have somebody beg somebody to pay his mama's light bill so a light's gonna come on? Meanwhile, here's the reason why the arena's packed or the football stadium is packed, because people want to see him do his thing.
Well,
it was never right, and I'm really glad the rules have
And
changed.
the other thing too, I mean, Nike, Adidas, and all those, they were paying the colleges, and the players were wearing the logo on their uniform, and they was getting zipped.
Yeah. Right.
Compelled to wear that.
Yeah.
I don't like Adidas when you go wear them
Wearing
now.
them,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Either that or you ain't gonna play here.
Right.
And what did you do? You wore the Adidas.
Right.
Yeah, you wore the Nikes.
You know, I seen this about at least 30 years ago. It was John Thompson, the man who was coach at LSU way back.
Brown, Dan Brown.
Okay, and the lady who played on the three women's
WNBA.
WNBA. She played on the first women's WNBA. They won three championships. What's her name was? Anyway, she was on the show too. And the guy who coaches at Duke,
Krzyzewski.
and I'm gonna tell you, man. Back then, John Thompson and the man who coached at LSU, and the lady who was going to college then, she was saying that she be in class trying to study, but still these things she gotta have money for this, and here she was a star player in college, and would getting nothing, and here all these companies, in on the advertising and everything, everybody making money but the player.
It used to absolutely kill me when I'd hear some fool calling to some sports talk show and say, "What are those guys complaining about? They get a free education.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have got a free education when I was at Michigan State." I said, first of all, man, let me unpack this for you. When you were studying at Michigan State to become a CPA, nobody was interested in watching you take a test to pass your economics exam.
Right.
Or your math exam.
Right.
Nobody was interested in that.
No.
But they interested in watching this cat bounce a ball. They interested in watching this cat run between lines. So that's the first thing.
Revenue.
Second thing is, there's a million CPAs out here. Now, granted, it's a worthy profession. It's a difficult profession to attain.
Yeah.
You have to study and work and do a lot of effort to become a CPA. God bless you. But there's millions of CPAs.
Yes.
There's only a couple dozen NBA players.
That's it.
I mean, maybe a couple hundred rather. There's only a few hundred NFL players. You are the elite of the elite of the elite, and as a result of that, you earn great money. But what about when you're in college?
Right.
And CBS is willing to pay billions to televise a tournament? What about on Saturdays when Every major car manufacturer, cigarette manufacturer, clothing manufacturer is advertising on their TV while you're out there playing during the timeouts, and you can't get any remuneration.
Right.
That's just unethical,
Yeah.
and I'm so happy it's changing now.
I remember. This happened about 15 years ago. I was at the. It was a little place on going to East Lansing on Michigan Avenue. There was a little place at that time on the left side just before you get to East Lansing. But anyway, two of the players was in there, basketball players, and they was trying to get 2 pizzas. Now they star players on the team, you know, making all this money for the school, but they trying to scrap money to get 2 pizzas.
Right. A $6 pizza.
Yeah. Two pizzas. And back then, about 15 years ago, a pizza was like about $3, you know. And they were trying to scrap money to get 2 pizzas, and I was waiting, and so I stood there and listened to him for a while, and so I started talking to him, and I just reached in my pocket and gave him $10, man. It's like, you know, I don't care if anybody see me or hear me, you know, there's no right in them going out there filling up the stands, playing basketball,
Empty pockets.
for school.
And let's dig a little deeper on this, man. If you're a hockey player and you want to play in the junior leagues as a high schooler, there's nothing stopping you from getting paid, going to the junior leagues, and then becoming a college athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with tennis.
Yeah.
Same thing with baseball.
Yeah.
Same thing with tiddlywinks.
Yeah.
But the sports that the black athlete plays, football and basketball,
Makes the most
that brings the most revenue. It's unethical.
Yeah.
We can't have you making
Right.
money.
Yeah.
You should be here for an education.
Yeah.
Okay, now, and let me go back to this other point I was going to make about these guys talking about them getting this free education. All right, man, I'm going to describe to y'all what you would have to do in order to get this free education, okay? You got to wake up at 6. You got to go to the table to eat, right?
Yep.
Then you may have to go watch film for a half hour. Then you got to get up and go to a few classes. Then you got to go to a room and you got to lift thousands of pounds of iron for about 2 hours.
Prepping.
And then after you lift thousands of pounds of iron for a couple hours, then you got to go get your run in. And then after you get your run in, then you got more training tables. So you got to go back and they got to monitor your calories to make sure you're eating. And then after that, oh no, you ain't done.
No.
You've been up since 6 doing things that most people couldn't do in a week. You've done already in a day. And no, you ain't done, because now you got to go to study table.
Yeah.
And then you get done study table, then you got to meet with a coach or two and go over some more film.
Yep.
And then by 10:30, when you physically exhausted, you go to bed and you wake up and you start it all over again. Meanwhile, your peers who are paying their way through school because their daddy's trust fund or their parents have a good job, they're sleeping in until 9.
Yeah.
They may go to class, they may not. They get out of class at 2 or 3 and they go watch cartoons, maybe go to the IM or go see the girlfriend, go out at night, get drunk as a skunk, and then wake up the next day, can't think about the next fun thing they're going to do.
Right.
But, you know, that's okay.
Regimented.
But if the athlete does it, you know, hey man, you're not disciplined.
Right.
You're supposed to be in that weight room.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be at that training table.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be getting your run in. You're supposed to be studying film.
Yeah.
But that's free education, right?
Yeah.
And meanwhile, come Saturday morning, the revenue's coming in, and they're coming in the 7 figures every single Saturday to that school.
Yeah.
You know, Michigan's bringing in 111,000.
Yeah.
LSU's bringing over 100,000. Ohio State's bringing over 100,000. And then you magnify that by the number of people who say, I'm not driving all the way down there and spending my money. I'll just watch it on TV.
Yeah.
The millions.
Yeah.
What else is going to make people sit down in one spot and watch something on TV like that?
And fill up the bars and the taverns.
Oh,
Absolutely.
Don't mention them, the bars and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
That's why I always looked at it as another form of slavery.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you got your overseers.
Yeah.
You know, and you got your slave master. You know,
Yeah.
I just equate it to that. You know, and I like sports and I watch it, but I'm not a junkie for it, you know, because of that fact.
I watch college sports, but when you pass college, when you get in the pro,
It's a different thing.
I haven't watched.
And it's a high risk.
Yeah, I haven't
Oh
watched.
yeah, your body's on the
I
line.
Yeah,
haven't
man.
watched that
Yeah.
pro since since the doctor was playing. But
But see, that's why I love pros, because you know, if you look at an NBA roster today in 2021, you could pick a team, pick a guy on the bench, and you can bet your bottom dollar whoever he is, he's a millionaire.
oh yeah,
Because he's an elite guy. Even though he's not playing much, he's on that team, he's an elite guy. And so when you read about some guy who had a good year last year, averaged 19 points a game, 8 rebounds,
Yep.
3 assists, and you can't even pronounce his name, you ain't even heard of him before,
Nope.
and find out this cat just signed for $80 million over
Yeah.
5
Oh,
years,
yeah.
and he's just a cat. He ain't even the main stars. He's not an all-star.
Yeah, hey.
That's how much money they're making.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah.
NBA is a worldwide revenue source, and so as a result of a good contract signed by their union,
Yep.
they get a share of the pie commensurate to the size of the pie. And NFL, Gene Upshaw, may he rest with the ancestors, negotiated a terrible contract with
Oh,
NFL
yeah.
players.
Yeah.
But at least they get paid.
yeah.
College guys, until this year, they've been getting exploited.
And still, I would say you're going to find a bunch of these people who, oh my son ain't making that. He's on the team and he ain't making that. You watch, they're going to be coming with something because the number 1 or number 2 guy on this team is making money now from advertising and everything. Now they're going to be saying, oh well my son ain't making nothing. It's like,
Hey man, you know the beauty of that? Bounce like a ball. You can transfer now. There's nothing holding you back.
Right.
You ain't happy? Peace.
Right.
Go on to the next team and
Right.
get the money.
But
But what they're gonna find out is it's just like the free market. Just because you work at IBM don't mean you make what the senior executives make.
but you watch. I bet you they're gonna come with something because
Hey man, let them. Let them. You hear the same thing in life, man. Somebody's complaining about what the cat over there makes.
Yeah.
What about your own pocket?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
If
grass
you
is
can't,
green on the other side.
if you can't
But they
make the
don't-
money that you want to
Right.
make, do something about
Right.
it.
Yeah.
They don't realize how much water you got to put on that grass.
Yeah, man.
How hard you got to work.
Right,
hard.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the fertilizer you get to put
Because
down.
I asked myself, why would a man get into some ice cold water? You know,
Yeah.
What motivated a person? Is what he has to do to maintain the status, the level of game that he's playing at.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
to
keep his body
rehabilitate his body.
Yeah.
Take those ice
Yeah.
baths.
Right.
Yeah, man, stretch for 20 minutes. Lift thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
Run mile after
Yeah.
mile.
Yeah.
And that's after a long day of studying in class.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's another thing, man. A lot of these schools, I've always resented the schools that don't even give their athletes opportunity to avail themselves of an education they're supposed to be there to get. Before the NIL.
Right.
Well, you're getting an education. No, you're not. These cats are told, man, you can't take that class. That's got lag.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
going to interfere with football practice.
Yep.
Or you can't take that class because you won't get an A, and that's going to mess up our grade point average for the team.
Yeah.
Our aggregate grade point average, you can't take that. Or you can't major in that. That's going to take up too much time away from practice. So wait a minute, am I here to get an education?
Right.
Or am I here to bounce this ball or run between the field? Well, the answer is you're here to bounce a ball.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. I'm here to bounce a ball and I rep your school, but pay me. And that's the way it is.
I had a cousin over in Ohio. This is about 20 years ago. He was an all-A student, and also he was a hell of a receiver and something else for Ohio State. And he told the coach, "I got to go to this class." Coach told him, "Oh no, you." So he quit the team. But he's got trophies, high school trophies.
Was that Robert Smith? Was your cousin Robert Smith?
No, it wasn't.
Because he had he went to Ohio State and he had the exact same story. He wanted to become a doctor. He was a great high school student, a very intelligent man. And they told him,
Yeah.
you can't major in that and involve yourself in this curriculum because
Right.
it's going to take too much time away
Yep.
from the football field. And
Yeah.
he actually quit the team. And now they brought him back. They let him do what he wanted to do. He ended up playing pro ball for a while. I don't know if he ever pursued his academic ambitions, but at least the decision was his.
Right.
But that's just how hypocritical it is.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they take all the money,
Yeah.
they don't give you a chance at your education, and then they tell you, well, the reason why we can't pay you is because we're giving you an education.
Yeah, yeah,
They really-
yeah.
Yeah.
you
What
know,
kind of trick bag is this?
Right.
yeah.
right.
They giving you
But
an
they sold it.
Oh, they sold it,
Yeah.
yeah. And the funny thing about it, Chuck, if you read about it, if you go back to the early 20th century, when football was becoming popular, I'm talking about in the 1900s, you know, early on, man, when, you know, there weren't very many teams that weren't from out east. You know, it was Michigan and then Notre Dame, but there weren't that many teams from, you know, the what we call New England West.
right.
And even then, guys were getting paid under the table. Guys are given grades for not going to class, despite not going to class because they wanted to be eligible in football. So the very same issues that surfaced then have always surfaced, and that is the contradiction of you making money off my work product and I can't get paid. Well, somebody's gonna pay me because all I got to do is say, hey, Mr. Restaurant owner, how about I come into your restaurant every Saturday night at 6 o'clock and you give me a free steak and the word gets around that I'm going to be here and all of a sudden you don't have enough seats in here.
Right.
That's a good deal for the restaurant owner. And that's the kind of stuff that's been going on from time immemorial. Most of these guys have been getting paid under the table. But why should it be something that's done in the
Right,
dark? Why
yeah.
should it be shameful?
Right.
Why
Yeah,
should it be
yeah.
why should it be something that's
They
illegal?
started that criminal element.
Yeah, they put that mentality in your mind.
Yeah.
I gotta be a little bit of an outlaw in
Yeah,
order
right.
to survive in this system.
And another thing that bothers me too, Dennis, is they paying the quarterbacks a truckload of money, but the people that's running the ball make the quarterback look good. So why should he stand out?
Hey man, that's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. I mean, the running back gets more than the lineman who's opening up the hole for the
Yeah,
running back,
yeah.
who's protecting the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's the same thing in life, man. There's some people out here who, during the pandemic, that we deemed essential workers. We can't have an economy without you. Okay, what do I do that's so essential? You drive that bus.
Yeah,
You flip them burgers. You make that bed.
yeah,
You open up the door at my hotel. You are essential.
yeah.
Oh, really? Well, how much are you going to give me a raise? Well, now, player, you still making $13 an hour.
Well, look at the
And that's after you've been here 5
Yeah.
years.
Right.
So, you know,
got
that
a
same
replace-
hypocrisy.
yeah,
the
yeah,
same
we got a
hypocrisy.
replacement
And
for it
that's
if they
why
don't
we're
like it.
seeing people not go back to work in the numbers they were before. They're like, man, I'm tired of killing myself
Yeah,
for chump change.
Yeah.
Pay me what I'm worth while I do my own thing.
Well, we look at these hotel workers. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they
risk their lives.
Yeah, hardly making enough to live on. But if it wasn't for them,
Hotel fall.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Same thing with the restaurant workers.
yeah,
You know, you see in all these commentaries about how the unemployment insurance and the stimulus packages that the Democrats have passed are bad because now these people won't work for chump change anymore. We can't fill jobs
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
Well, look, man, it ought to be an easy calculation for you to make. You got a job, nobody will take it
Right.
at this level.
right,
I bet if you raise it to this level,
yeah,
you might get some people to bite.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Okay? So that means your margins are going to go from 110 to maybe 85%. But
Yeah.
you won't be walking around with a barrel on for clothes and trying to sell apples on the corner. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
Stop being so damn greedy.
yeah,
But they have become so accustomed to exploitation and domination of the working class people that they just can't get over the fact that these people saying, look, man, you can have your little penny ante job. I'd rather not.
Well, right now they're trying to get $15 an hour, and
They
still,
rejecting that.
yeah, you know, it'll be there in 3 years, 3 years, and when you look at the average, if everything was keeping up, you know, wage and everything, the average a worker would be getting $22 an
Oh
hour.
yeah, and that was years ago. That calculation, man. They said that if you looked at the original, when the minimum wage was adjusted in the late 1960s, what they did is they took the minimum wage and they said we're gonna tie this to the rate of inflation, so we don't have to keep coming back and having these congressional sessions to raise a minimum wage. We're just going to tie it to inflation, and when inflation goes up, the minimum wage automatically goes up. Okay, and I think the article I read was in 2013 or 14. It said that if that had been maintained and people were paid minimum wage based on the inflation of the dollar since 1967 or 8 when that move happened, the minimum wage would be $22 an hour.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you can think back, man, when I was in college. I graduated college in 1980, right? I could come home and I had to work. You know, one of my most vivid memories, my first day home after my freshman year, I'm sleeping in bed after I've been out with the boys, tied one on, and my father woke me up about 6 o'clock, said, man, what you doing? I said, I'm asleep. Said, nah, you ain't sleep. You got to get up. You got to go out and get a job. Your job is to get a job. So come on up, eat some breakfast with me, catch that bus. So his point was, you got to work in this society, but I got a job at 7-Eleven. I got a job tearing down a factory one summer with some ex-cons. Best education I ever had. Them cats was honest more than some of these people I met working for the state. Had a job one summer, me and my boys painting houses. The point was, I could take 75% of what I earned, hand it to my parents, keep the 25% for myself, and between what I contributed and what they contributed, easy for me to go through college. No debt. I didn't have to do student loans. But of course, you know, college turned into a profit center, and they kept raising tuition to astronomical levels, you know, because we don't want regulation.
They punish you for wanting to be an asset.
They price out your range. So now it's nothing to hear about some young person who is $75,000, $80,000 in debt. $100,000 in debt, just starting off life. They got a mortgage on their back. There's nothing to live in.
And their parents.
And we say this is equitable.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? Don't let anybody make you think that God chose America as his divine messianic force to be a sort of policeman of the whole world. God has a way of standing before the nations with judgment, and it seems that I can hear God saying to America, you are too arrogant. If you don't change your ways, I will rise up and break the backbone of your power, and I'll place it in the hands of a nation that doesn't even know my name. Be still and know that I'm God.